What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and in this video, I want to talk about my new favorite Prismatic Warlock build. It centers around the Nezarec Sin exotic, and I used this to solo the Disgrace Nightfall last week, and it worked really well. This build absolutely carried, and there's a lot of synergy with the artifact this season, and with Prismatic. And yeah, Nezarec Sin is a really good exotic, and I haven't seen really much about it on like YouTube or anything. So yeah, I wanted to make a video because I do think it's very strong. So the armor perk on Nezarec Sin is Abyssal Extractors. Void damage kills, increase ability energy recharge rate. So very simple, and I wish Bungie and Destiny would give more like precise numbers and values for a lot of like what damage perks do or what exotic perks like this do. But basically, the Destiny Data Compendium can help us out, and it gives 300% additional base grenade and melee regen rate, and 200% additional class and super regen rate. So 200% is a lot, especially for your super regen. So that's very strong, and then 300% is obviously a ton for grenade and melee regen rate. And Prismatic is kind of all about spamming your abilities. So yeah, there's clear synergy there. And then just the fact that Void is so strong this season on the artifact just makes this like a really good kind of no-brainer pick. So I want to walk you through it. So we're running Nova Bomb Cataclysm. This got a buff and it's very strong this season, especially with the artifact perk Expanding Abyss. So if you weaken a target, then your Nova Bomb is going to be dealing 25% more damage. And if it was a tether or a tractor cannon or something that weakened it, it would be 35% more damage. So yeah, Expanding Abyss, great. Nova Bomb Cataclysm, very good for single target damage or for mass ad clear. So it's kind of got dual utility. And then again, if you're getting kills with it, you're going to be triggering Nezarec Sin's perk, which is Abyssal Extractors. And it can go up to 20 seconds if you're just slaying out with any void ability or weapon. So as long as it's a void kill, you're going to be getting stacks of Abyssal Extractors. Well, it doesn't really stack, but the timer extends. So I run Healing Rift. Healing Rift is just obviously good for survivability in endgame content. Arcane Needle, this is because we get 3 melee charges and they unravel targets. And Unravel is actually very good, again, for ad clear and just some supplemental damage on single targets. Vortex Grenades, we all know Vortex Grenades are very good grenades. Feed the Void, so defeating a target with any ability activates Devour, and then your Devour effects are improved, restoring additional health and grenade energy. So when it says improved, they nerfed Devour, so you only get half your health back on a kill, but the Devour from Feed the Void still gives you full health back. And then it gives you a lot of grenade energy. So again, you can see the values for the grenade energy that you get on kill. It depends on the tier of the combatant. So on screen now is just the exact amounts as per the Destiny Data Compendium. And again, Nezarec Sin, if you're getting Void kills, you're getting 300% additional grenade regen rate, plus the regeneration from Devour. So yeah, Feed the Void, an obvious pick here for the additional grenade regen and the health back, which allows you to be extremely aggressive. It's so good. And then because we want to be using our Vortex Grenades, we're not going to be using Bleak Watcher. So I decided to try out Hellion, and it's actually really good. So it just says activate your class ability to summon a solar mortar that lobs flaming projectiles at distant targets. Targets damaged by the mortar are scorched. So again, if we look at the Destiny Data Compendium, it gives us the values, and obviously we don't have access to Ember of Ashes, but Hellion applies 30 stacks of Scorch, and then it would do 40 with Ember of Ashes. So if you land 4 Hellions on a target, it will ignite the target. And then as of the making of this video, I am recording this the night before we get new artifact perks, but there is one that will increase your ignition damage. But even still, I would not run that. I would run the artifact perks that I'm using, just because they synergize better with what we're trying to do with this build. But this is just nice for supplemental damage and applying Scorch to things, and yeah, it's just a pretty decent aspect to run. For fragments, we have Facet of Dominance. This is probably the most important one. Your Void Grenade weakens targets. So again, we're running Vortex Grenades. We're getting tons of grenades from Devour with Feed the Void and from Nezaric's Sin by slaying out with everything Void. And then Facet of Sacrifice, while you have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff, ability final blows grant bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. So again, we're usually having some type of buff, usually Devour, and then we're getting bonus Darkness Transcendence energy from ability final blows. So that's really nice. And then we also get some Darkness Transcendence from our Arcane Needle, which is another reason we want to run that. Then we have Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits against targets make you radiant. So that's a 25% damage bonus. Well worth running, 100%. Being radiant is very, very helpful. Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. So now we're getting even more grenade and melee regen because of this fragment. And then Facet of Bravery is what I like to run. Defeating targets with grenade final blows grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. And also, defeating targets with powered melee final blows grants unraveling rounds to your strand weapons. So we can take advantage of both of these with the weapons that we're running. So I'll start with the star of the show, which is Graviton Lance. This is a very powerful exotic pulse rifle. And of course, we're running anti-barrier pulse rifle on the artifact. So yeah, this thing just absolutely shreds through targets. It's great. And then you definitely want to get the Catalyst if you can, because then you'll get Vorpal Weapon and you'll get Turnabout. So if you don't know what Turnabout does, using this weapon to break the shield of a combatant or a guardian using their super will grant you an overshield. So now we can get overshield, which is nice. And then Vorpal Weapon is just handy, especially with anti-barrier. So it's really good on barrier champions. And then I like to run Edge Transit with Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch. This thing absolutely slaps. And then it pairs really nicely with Expanding Abyss, because if we weaken a target with our Void Grenade, then we're going to be dealing 25% more damage, plus Bait and Switch. Like, this thing absolutely chunks. And then if we also get a Void Grenade kill, we're proccing Facet of Bravery, so it will also have volatile rounds. And if it's got volatile rounds, or if we have Radiant, it will also be able to pierce a barrier champion shield. And we also run Radiant Orbs, which I forgot to put on. So I was running a different build and I had taken Radiant Orbs off, and then I forgot to put it on when I did that solo GM. So I did it in about 23 minutes, and that was without Radiant Orbs. It could have probably been quicker because I would have had more damage uptime all the time with Radiant Orbs because of how much we're slaying out with our Void weapons. So then to top it all off, I like to use the Call with either Lead from Gold and One for All, or I have a roll with Demolitionist and Vorpal Weapon. And then obviously we have Unstoppable Sidearm. So in anything like Grandmasters or whatever, where the modifier is active, then it will be overcharged, so it deals 25% more damage. So even though Strand Surge isn't on pretty much like at all this season, Unstoppable Sidearm will make it overcharged. So this is really nice for, they have like great ammo economy. And then if you're trying to get your Transcendence meter up, you can just start doing a bunch of damage with this and you'll be good, because your light Transcendence is pretty much always up, because we're just always slaying out with Graviton Lance and dealing like tons of void damage, because we want to be using our void weapons as much as possible for abyssal extractors. So yeah, this build just literally spams abilities. It's absolutely insane. And then of course on the helmet, I've got Void Siphon, and then I do have Font of Wisdom, which will give us +3 tiers. So I have 22 intellect, but this will take it to 52 if we have, if we pick up an Orb of Power. So for the 10 seconds that we have armor charge, we would have that. Or you can just run Strand Siphon here, or even Stasis Siphon or whatever you're running in your kinetic slot. Because sometimes I do like to run a Deliverance with Demolitionist and Chill Clip. So that's also another option if you wanted to. That's more for general play, but for the GM, I really like the Call because of Unstoppable. So yeah, you can kind of run what you want here on the helmet. On the gloves, because we're using so many abilities, you want things that kind of just feed back into your abilities. So we have Bolstering Detonation, grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. Again, we get a ton of grenades because of Devour, Demolitionist, Abyssal Extractors, all that. And then Focusing Strike grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a powered melee attack. So anytime we use our grenade or melee, we're getting class ability energy. And then we can cast down that Healing Rift to get a Hellion turret going, so it's really, really good. And then Momentum Transfer, causing damage with a grenade, reduces your melee cooldown. So I have 100 Discipline, but only 30 Strength. But the way that Arcane Needles work is if you're on your like last charge going from 2 to 3, they actually have a quicker cooldown. And then because we're getting so many grenades, we're just like chucking out grenades like crazy. So we're activating Momentum Transfer a lot. So we're getting lots of strength, like lots of melee energy back, and lots of class ability energy back. So that's definitely what I recommend on the gloves. For the chest piece, it's just whatever resistance that you need for said activity. On the boots, I like Invigoration to reduce my melee cooldown each time I pick up an orb, and then Innervation to reduce my grenade cooldown each time I pick up an orb. And then you could run Absolution to reduce all your ability cooldowns each time you pick up an orb of power, or you could run Void Weapon Surge just for more weapon damage with Edge Transit and Graviton Lance. And then finally, we've got Distribution, which reduces all ability cooldowns when using your class ability near targets, Outreach, which reduces your melee cooldown when you cast your Rift, and Bomber, which reduces your grenade cooldown when you cast your Rift. So again, this build is just all about spamming your abilities pretty much as often as possible. And then if you run out of your abilities, you can pop Transcendence and then just go nuts with all your abilities. And then you've got your grenade, you get really fast Arcane Needles to get your melee abilities back if you were like low on them. And trust me, you get Transcendence a ton with this build. So as long as you're just like slaying out with your void weapons, then you're going to be taking advantage of Abyssal Extractors, and that just helps you to spam your abilities constantly. And as you're spamming your abilities, they're feeding into all the other abilities with things like Bomber, Outreach, Distribution, Bolstering Detonation, Focusing Strike, Momentum Transfer. It's all feeding back to each other. And then as you're making orbs with Void Siphon or Strand Siphon or whatever your kinetic slot is, then you're getting Innervation and Invigoration, and yeah, it's crazy. And then for artifact perks, I talked about Expanding Abyss a lot already, but we also have Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. And then while you're Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. So we're Radiant quite a bit because of Facet of Dawn with our Arcane Needles, and because of Radiant Orbs. So we get a lot of grenade regen there. And then you do get the odd Void Overshield because of Turnabout on Graviton Lance. But yeah, you don't get much on the melee side of things with Shield Crush, but still well worth it to run because we are Radiant quite a bit. And then Expanding Abyss, of course, Void Hegemony. While you have a Void or Prismatic subclass, defeating weakened targets provides a small Void Overshield. So I guess I kind of lied because I forgot about Void Hegemony, but we're weakening a ton of things with our weakening grenades. So then we're proccing an Overshield, which helps for survivability. It gives us damage resistance. It gives us a bit of extra health. It's just awesome. And then Counter Energy. When you or a member of your fire team stuns a champion, you gain energy for your least charged ability. So then you're getting even more ability energy back there. And then Elemental Siphon, rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon. So that's only if you're running a kinetic slot weapon that's actually kinetic. And then Threaded Blast, I really like. Destroying a tangle with a strand weapon creates a larger and more damaging explosion. So that's strong. And you could also run Creeping Chill if you're running something like that Deliverance. So Stasis Weapon Final Blows against slowed or frozen targets release a burst that slows. So again, that's just depending on what you're running for weapons. But Void Hegemony, Shield Crush, Expanding Abyss, and Radiant Orbs are your must runs on the artifact. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the build. This build, like I said, it goes so crazy. It's quickly become my favorite one. If I want to like go crazy with melees and stuff, I'll run Fellwinter's Helm. But in like GM environment, you often can't just be sliding in and getting lightning surge melees on everything. You can if you know what you're doing. I'm not saying it's impossible, but Nezarec Sin is probably going to be a much safer pick for a lot of people out there. And Graviton Lance is just a star this season, just thanks to how strong Void is and because of Anti-Barrier Pulse Rifle. And then again, it's so strong, and then you're getting volatile rounds from Facet of Bravery, and if you're weakening a target, then your Graviton Lance is doing 25% more damage thanks to Expanding Abyss. So yeah, there's just so much synergy going on here. It's a really, really fun build, and I can't recommend it enough. So if you found this video helpful and informative, then a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. I do believe you can still donate to the Bungie Foundation. So there is a link for that down below. My friend TJ set up a donation thing. So if you're feeling generous and want to get some cool emblems and a cool new shader and stuff, then donate to that. And also, yeah, I have a community Discord now. So if you want to join that, then there's a link down below the like button for that as well. So yeah, that's about it. And thanks for watching if you're still here. Take care.